Welcome to another installment in my complete chronological rewatch, where I'll be going back through almost every Star Wars film and show as I work my way to the Rise of Skywalker. I've already gone through some of the movies, so be sure to check those out for yourself after this. Today we're going over the Clone Wars Season 1, Episode 20, Innocence of Ryloth. Set in 21 BBY, to sabotage a powerful Separatist weapon, Obi-Wan and a small clone force enter an occupied town and discover that its residents are being used as living shields. This episode serves as a solid part 2 of the 3-episode arc, as the story transitions from space above Ryloth to now on the planet's surface. I don't think this episode has as good of characterization and development compared to the last episode with Anakin and Ahsoka, but we do get a good amount here as we spend most of the time following clones Waxer and Boyle, which I think is the saving grace of the episode. Everything else with the invasion is alright. It's enjoyable to a point, but there isn't anything particular about the action or Kenobi's role in this episode that stands out to me. Like I mentioned in my last video, when all the action is just chaotically firing of blaster bolts through the air, it isn't as enjoyable to watch as when there's a clear purpose behind every move. There isn't anything great about the Separatist side of the story either. With only droids as the antagonists, there isn't that much that can be done. But we are shown the contrast in morality of the two sides right off the bat, as the tactical droid is willing to use the Twi'leks as living shields, and then it immediately cuts to Kenobi telling his men to focus on not destroying the homes. Kenobi cares more about some stone hut than the droids care about living people. It's also nice to return to Ryloth and this time be able to see the more hospitable side of the planet, rather than just the mountains and landscape briefly. The real focus of this episode are the two clones in particular, as they encounter Numa, a native Twi'lek left hiding alone in the destruction of her home. Through their discovery of her, we really get to see how, despite being clones of the same person, these troopers are all very different people. Boyle is very to the book, a typical soldier, lacking any compassion for the natives. He makes her a remark about the least they can do is get out of the way, as they try to free the planet, despite the population being held hostage. He refers to Numa as tailhead and monster, offers Waxer to put binders on the young girl to keep her by them. He doesn't have the same element of humanity and compassion that we see from Waxer, who is quick to care for Numa and create a connection with her. I've found recently in my rewatch that the stronger episodes always seem to be more focused on characters and their development during this war, rather than the action and constant fighting that comes with it. Even though these two clones aren't necessarily main characters of the show, we do get to spend this episode with them and see who these clones really are, and by the end Boyle has changed a bit in his attitude towards the Twi'leks and Numa. The inclusion of Nera throughout the episode also adds a lot to the story, because for most of the episode it seems like just another meaningless expression used by Numa, but once Kenobi explains it at the end to them as meaning brother, which is the same term that the clones use to refer to one another, it shows how meaningful that bond between them is. And I'm jumping a little ahead here, but when she reappears in Star Wars Rebels, there's a nice callback to these clones on the gear that she wears. Let me know what you think of this episode in the comments below, and where it ranks among your favorite episodes. Remember to like the video, and subscribe to stay up to date with my chronological rewatch. As always, thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.